Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, host of the Love You Even More podcast. I'm an author, marriage and family therapist in training, performer, and 2-time Emmy Award winner. Each week, I bring on people from all walks of life to talk to them about their inspiring stories in the fields of self-development, relationships, business, and how you can love yourself even more. For more about me and the podcast, visit us at loveyouevenmore.com. Welcome, Meghan Fritz, to the Love You Even More podcast. Meghan is a psychotherapist, and she really loves to focus on personality disorders, amongst other things. And today we're going to focus on dealing with a borderline parent during the holidays. Yay! But before we get into it, Meghan, I feel like people can always do a better job at introducing themselves and what they do better than I could. So Meghan, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yes. Okay. So my name is Meghan, and I have a telehealth therapy practice with my business partner. We are Fritz Stanger and Associates, and we treat ages 8 and up for therapy. And really, I have to say my favorite topic is personality disorders, and not because I was in graduate school reading every book and studying, but because I was like learning it in the field of growing up and going to school and navigating different social dynamics. So this is a topic that I feel so excited to talk about today.
And I found you on TikTok when I started Googling about borderline personality disorder, and I've been doing a lot of diagnosis lately in my graduate studies. And I swear I went down the rabbit hole of your TikTok and was like, oh my goodness, are you available? Like, let's chat. Because you have a really great way of making it very simple to understand, and then also giving tools to work with people who have personality disorders.
Yes. And I feel like the best advice that I ever received about personality disorders was in graduate school. And I was there with my notebook. I was ready to take notes to learn exactly how to diagnose a narcissist or a borderline personality disorder. And the professor stood up and he said, I can give you all the criteria to make a diagnosis, but the best way to figure out whether you're dealing with a personality disorder is based on how you feel. Yes, I know. And he said, you will feel if you're around somebody with a personality disorder. And let's put it into sort of this holiday subject, because everybody's going to go home for the holidays and hang out with their families, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We're going to get
yes, everybody's going to get triggered. And this is like my favorite. This is sort of like my pageant, so to speak, with clients, because I get them all geared up to go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I love those sessions after the fact, because it tells me exactly what we need to work on. But if you grew up with a parent who has a personality disorder, specifically around the holidays, you're going to feel dread. You're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel drained. And you're going to feel like no matter what you do, you cannot win.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's so common. I feel like there are so many people walking around with personality disorders, and most all of them are undiagnosed. And it feels like the children of them are there to diagnose the parent and be like, oh, that's what I'm dealing with. So if someone is unsure of what personality disorder their parent may have, can we do like a kind of, I don't want to do a quick briefing, but can we do a briefing of personality disorders and how to tell them apart in regards to parents? Because we are dealing with a different generation that grew up differently, that has different values than a lot of the younger generations. And it can be a little misconstrued, I think, or at least the parent can be like, that's just how I was raised.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. And how I'm going to do it is by examples. Okay. So I'm going to be either a narcissist or a borderline parent. So with a narcissist, it's always sort of the same thing over and over and over again, meaning they're always the most important. They're always the expert and they always, they're always inflated. Okay. So let's do a narcissist first. So I'm going to do both the parent and the adult child.
Okay.
They come home and they say, "Oh, I'm so excited. I landed this internship and I'm learning all of these amazing things. And the head of the company asked me personally to be their assistant in this internship. And I just feel like I got the opportunity of a lifetime." Well, that's great. I mean, when I was in school, I ended up getting not only the head intern award, but I later ended up as the assistant vice president to the biggest, most important person in the world. And I did such an amazing job there that they actually came to me and said they couldn't afford to keep me because I was so talented. And I just want to tell you, Jackie, that you have to work. You have to earn this. And there's no rest for the weary. And so I know you're excited, but you've got to go in there and hit the ground running and show people who you are. I mean, that's what I had to do.
That is it. That is it. So what's so interesting about this is that I know there are people listening who are like, oh my gosh, that's my dad or that's my mom, but they've maybe never put together that they're a narcissist. Because I think, obviously people talk about narcissism a lot these days because there are more narcissists. It's just a fact. Like that's just what's happening. But when we talk about narcissism or like when you hear about it, it's like, oh, they're love bombing me. And they're giving the more romantic aspects of a narcissist. So that was a beautiful example of a narcissist parent. What else is a narcissist parent going to look like?
Well, so that's not the narcissistic parent. It's always going to be, let me tell you my story. So they're always going to shift it back to them. So that's the telltale sign of a narcissist. And I actually sort of, if you ask me like, what's easier to deal with, a narcissist or a borderline, I will tell you a narcissist every time because it's more predictable and consistent. Now let's do the example of a borderline. Okay. I'm so excited. I just started dating somebody and I'm going to bring him to the New Year's Eve party that we're having. And I can't wait for you to meet him because I feel like he's really going to fit in to our family. And he loves to ski and he loves the same movies we watch. And I'm really excited for you to meet him. Oh, I'm so glad. We were all talking about it. We were all wondering, when are you gonna figure this out? So, I mean, boy, I was just talking to your aunt the other day and she was saying like, oh, Jackie, she's so pretty. She's so great. How about, those choices she makes? So I can't wait to call her and tell her that you're bringing this guy home. We're really excited. And, I just know you're not going to mess this up.
It's like the ultimate backhanded compliment.
I call it the hug, hug, slap. But that was more like a hug, hug, like you got kicked in the face.
Oh my gosh. So in a more like sort of theoretical aspect, what is a borderline personality disorder? Like, what does that mean to someone?
What does it mean? Like the diagnosis? What does it like? Where does it come from? How do you get one? Okay.
Like in layman's terms, like if you were to like, meet a crowd of people and you're talking to each one and you're like, oh, that person seems like they could be borderline. What are some just like very common traits?
Okay, common traits. Okay. So the common traits would be, I know it, but it's like hard to put into words. Okay. So there's no sense of self.
Mm,
Everything is about taking,
mm,
right? So if I'm interacting with you and I sense that you're really confident in a particular area, like a wonderful, amazing performer, I'm going to recognize that about you and then very quickly find a way to sort of lower you so that I can gain power. So somebody with a personality disorder has to borrow power. They don't
mm,
have it, right? So how do they get that way? Definitely, if we look at attachment and we look at childhood, 0 to 5 years old is the time that we have to download all the good stuff in there.
mm.
What secure attachment looks like, what navigating yourself in the world looks like in a safe way, what presence looks like from your parents. Okay. So if you don't get that, if you don't get any kind of connection from your parents, you are at risk to develop a personality disorder
Mm,
very quickly or very early. Sorry, not quickly.
mm.
So that is based in attachment. So it's this idea of borrowing confidence, borrowing power, and it's all ego based.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, that makes sense. Because with narcissists, what
Mm-hmm.
I've learned is that the grandiose narcissists who have to like fill the whole room with their presence versus covert, who are more kind of behind the scenes. I mean, more the insecure outwardly showing versus the grandiose. Can have one of two ways of becoming that way. One is which they're overindulged by a parent and they become
Yes, that's the
grandiose,
other one. Yes,
right?
absolutely. So you're either completely abandoned
Mhm.
by the parent or you're completely what I call emotional incest, where
Yeah.
you are treated like this very special, amazing spouse. And
Mhm.
so what happens if you have a personality disordered parent and you are now an adult, it's all about, this very strange relationship.
Yes, I've seen this a lot with men and their mothers, where their mothers are like, "You're a better husband than my husband, so now you're my child husband," and it's super creepy.
Right. And then if they get married, it's like having a plural marriage because it's just right. And so there's people in the marriage.
So does that happen with both grandiose? No, I guess with covert, they wouldn't have had an attachment. So they're more on their own and insecure. They're both insecure, but more so.
Yes, yes. So again, like all roads lead back to that attachment style. And usually there's a glitch, right? Unless they're overindulged. And then, but it's so funny. People will come into therapy and they'll say, like, am I a narcissist or am I a borderline? And I say, well, no, because a personality disordered person would never ask.
Yes. And that is such a nice thing to remember because it's so easy to be like, well, wait, hold on. Sometimes I can be like that.
Right,
Or even just thinking you're just selfish or being selfish. Maybe you're
right.
brought up to believe you're selfish just for needing the normal things.
Yes. And another important point for someone that has a personality disorder is they have no insight. There's no insight and there's no you. Meaning, if you are the adult child of a personality disordered parent, you're not allowed to exist.
Mm.
Right. So let's bring it back to this idea of like the holidays and how to create boundaries. Okay. So the first thing is this idea of like, it's never enough. So if you say, okay, we'll be at your house at 3, we're going to leave at 7, and tomorrow we're going to be in so and so's family. But, well, why are you doing that? Well, I thought you were spending time with me. Right. So there's always this, it's not enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. And so if you were to say, right, in a normal, healthy, functional relationship, you'd say, when you say that, it feels like you don't love me and it feels like I can never do right by you.
Mm.
Right? If you say that to a personality disordered parent, what they would say back to you is, it's always about you. It's always about your feelings. It's always about giving you respect. What about me? What about me at the holidays? Did you ever think that I would be alone, that I would be lonely, that I never get to see my grandchildren? It's all about you,
Mhm.
right? And then you're like, well, okay, that's not what I was saying. So there's no dialogue.
Right.
So we don't engage in dialogue. So rule number one, we are not talking about the holidays. We're not discussing it. We are just going to give you our agenda. We will be there at 1 and we are leaving at 4. Well, I thought you were gonna, you don't respond.
Mhm. Mhm. That is a
Yeah.
boundary.
That is a boundary. And I cannot take credit for this. And I don't know where I heard it, but it was amazing. And it was like boundaries are something you do, and a behavior request is something I ask you to do.
Mm. It's so hard to have boundaries with a parent who hates boundaries and who wants to ride over all of them. How can we stay strong in our boundaries with our parents during the holidays?
Yep. So the first thing, honestly, I would say is find a really good therapist who knows how to work with adult children of personality disorders, because it's about reprogramming, right? So you say, how do you feel better? You can't feel better until you realize it has nothing to do with you.
Mm.
And so you can get all like the therapy around how to execute the boundary. But if you still believe you're at fault, then you're still engaged. So the first thing is like working on like, this is not about me. This is not about me. I am lovable. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of respect. And this person's inability to give me all of those things is about their limits and their trauma, not me.
And I think too, for people with borderline parents, like you said, it's always about them, the parent. They have to like suck the joy and the energy out of that child or that room even, but
Event.
that child,
Mm.
right. I think it's so heartbreaking for the child because they don't want to feel like they're hurting their parent, but their parent keeps putting them in that position to feel extreme guilt, like you just
Mhm.
described.
Mhm.
And also at the same time, to not be able to be themselves fully and to shine as bright as they'd like to. Because if they do, that's taking attention away from the parent who's then like, wait,
Mhm.
me, 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 me. With
Right.
borderline parents, how can we start being our biggest, brightest, shiniest selves with them if we know that they're going to kind of try to stamp on it?
Well, man, that's like a lifetime of therapy. Like, I don't even know where to start with that. Let me think about it and break this down. So again, like number one, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. So you stay there. Number two, I am worthy of celebrating my birthday. I can't tell you how many adult daughters of borderline mothers hate their birthdays because it's all about how many hours the mom was in labor and then this happened and then this happened. And it's this weird, like, this is my day. Same for Mother's Day, Father's Day. It gets all strange. So what I would say is, okay, work on your self-concept, number one. Number two, create space. What does an ideal holiday look like for you? What what do you want to do? Do you want to go for a hike? Do you want to stay home with your own family? Do you want to go on a vacation? Start with what you want, because most of the time, people who are adult children of personality disordered parents have no idea what they want, because
Yeah,
that's a privilege to know what you want, and they were never given that privilege.
absolutely. And this all sounds very sad, and it is actually. But I think for people who maybe didn't grow up with, personality disordered parents, it can sound like really confusing and like, wait, what? How could that possibly be? Because they may have had just normal parents who maybe weren't the best in the world, but also weren't the worst and also didn't have personality disorders.
Yes.
So if you're in a relationship with someone who actually does have secure attachment, who had a pretty normal upbringing with pretty chill parents, and again, that's like relative, how do you how do you explain to them when you bring them home for the holidays what's going on?
Yes. Well, like if you don't know, you don't know, right? And if you have had, again, that word, the privilege of not having to deal with somebody with a personality disorder in your family, what a gift.
Yeah.
But it is a real shock when you meet somebody who says, like, you know what, I don't have a relationship with my sibling, or I don't have a relationship with that parent. I have no contact because they're not safe for me.
Mhm.
And so, what's the first thing that people do if they don't know? That's your mother. That's your father. You just, I mean, just turn the other cheek. You got
Right.
to forgive. And there's all this weird sort of religious stuff that goes on around it, which can make that person feel guilty all over again. And so it's a boundary, right? Like, hey, I can tell that this is something you've never experienced, and you're so lucky to have never experienced that. This isn't something I'm willing to discuss or negotiate.
Right.
If I need feedback on this, I'll ask you, but really what's helpful is support.
Mhm. I think too, the more that the partner who hasn't experienced it kind of starts to watch it in action, they might start to see like, even if they can't put it together yet, there's a feeling of just like, whoa,
Mm,
something's really off here. Something's really wrong. And maybe because at the end of the day, it is abusive, it's emotionally abusive. And
yes.
it reminds me of when people are in romantic abusive relationships, especially if they're just emotionally abusive, not physically. How many people are like, and they give all of the excuses of why you're wrong or you're overreacting, or, well, if it's so bad, then why don't you leave? And it's the same feeling as
Yes.
having a parent who's abusive to you. There's no
Yes.
physical showing of it.
Right. So, yes, and I want to get back to that point. But first, I want to say for the borderline parent with the new person, the new partner, the new boyfriend or girlfriend, they will sort of do this love bombing to that new person and then will make lots of jokes about you to put you down. Oh, well, you know how Megan is. She can't, don't give, don't let her cook the turkey. And then it's like this, like, ha ha ha. And so then the person that you feel safe with is sort of bonding with the villain. And it's
Right.
like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And so that is very, very common. Um, Listen, physical abuse, you can see it, right? If you punch me in the eye, I have a black eye. Oh, that's wrong. You punched me. That's not allowed on the social norms. We know that that's like unacceptable. With personality disordered abuse towards, a child or not a child, an adult, a child of a personality disordered person, or dating. I mean, you probably spend the first year thinking you're wrong or weird,
Yeah.
but your GPS is not. It's not ever wrong. It's intact. And if your engine light was going on in your car and you kept driving it, you'd break down. And as women, we are taught to override our GPS over and over and over and over and over again. And so taking that power back means it the first sign, like, I don't feel right, something feels off, just trusting it. You don't have to do anything with it, but if you just sit back, it'll just keep coming forward over and over and over again.
Right. And women, we will feel it in our bodies all the time, all day long. It is there. It is yelling. That engine light. That's a great analogy. That engine light is blaring in our cars. But, I was in a narcissistic relationship where I started to really think like something was truly wrong with my gut, not my intuition, but my
Right.
actual physical
Right.
gut.
Yes.
And I was like, gosh, something's really wrong with me. And even his parents were like, we'll pay for you to get a colonoscopy at this point. And I was like, no, 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 no. I think it's just your son. And it was.
Yes.
And then I was
Yes.
like, I actually took the last year to stop eating gluten to heal my gut because it had gotten so bad from the stress. And I'm
Yes.
fine now, so that's great. But our bodies, women, we're so intuitive and it is
Yes.
there. But
Hmm.
I think what this episode is so important in like explaining is where we can tell that something's wrong, but it's been happening for so long. It's normal if you have a personality disorder
Yes.
parent, and then
Yes.
trying to undo that and that reasoning and the way that we have coped and the way that we have like just survived within that relationship takes so much time. But I think there are so many people who are like, oh, I didn't know it was borderline. Wait, let me learn all about borderline now. And once they do,
Hmm.
it's like, bing, there it is.
Yes. Yes. And our bodies are so smart. They will do whatever it takes to get our attention. I worked with somebody who was dating a narcissistic man, married him, and at the first start of the relationship, started having unexplained seizures. Then the next year broke her foot. The year after that, a fall. Like all of these things kept happening.
Mm.
She'd never been in the hospital, never been sick, and it's her body screaming like, "Please,
Yeah.
please listen, like we can't do this, we can't take it." um so
That same
it's
thing happened to me. I had all of these medical
oh.
issues within just a few months. Like, I never get sick. I never have to see
Mm.
doctors for anything other than like a cold. And I was like dying. My body was physically just dying.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, because like because it's literally like taking wire, like taking what do you call these, not clippers, are they clippers, I guess clippers, clipping the wires to
yeah,
your GPS,
yeah, yeah.
and it's just stuck and recalculate. Well, I mean, look at you now, like
I
brave and strong and healed and whole. Amazing.
thank you. Yeah, thankfully it was only a year of my life. So it was a big year, but it was only a year.
Well,
But
the thing about chemistry and attraction is that if you grew up with a personality disordered parent, when you are in a room with somebody that has a personality disorder, you will feel incredible, incredible, earth shattering attraction and chemistry. Like, ah, amazing, right? And it's not because that person's for you. It's because your body is so familiar with that code. So it's like,
Mhm.
look at, we know how to do this. We know how to do this. We know how to do this dance. And you get together and it's this amazing experience. And
Yeah.
you're attracted to it because you know it. And
Mhm.
so much of the reprogramming is about changing what you're attracted to. I mean, it's so funny. Like I could walk into a room of millions of people and I've like reprogrammed myself, but I could know immediately who the narcissist was because I might feel a tiny little like, ooh. And then I laugh. I'm like, I know. Oh, we've dated like 100 million times.
Oh, that's so, so true. And the reason you said, like, the code is there, it's so recognizable. It's in our DNA from our parents. It's really ingrained. But I think that's such another episode we should do about all of that.
Yes.
Definitely a part two.
Yeah.
When we have those, what's really interesting too is like, once you really heal from understanding either the narcissistic parent or the borderline parent, then when you're with them, it is so much harder to tolerate that parent because you really see it. And like, I mean, I've certainly been in this situation before. What do we do as children, adult children, when we're like, oh, wow, I'm doing the work. And now, like you said, the holidays, it's like, let's see if you can do this work we've been doing in real
Yeah.
life. Let's test it out.
That's right. So first of all, you make sure your GPS is charged up and rested and replenished and renewed. So like you get enough rest, You eat before you go to, the person's house. Like you do all the really massive self-care things because as an adult child of a personality disordered parent, you are going to specialize in self-abandonment. I mean, that's just going to be your go-to knee-jerk reaction for everything. So self-care has to be, I mean, it's just has to become this spiritual core of what you do. And you think about what makes sense for you and you set your boundaries. This is the time I'm coming. This is the time I'm leaving. If you have somebody going with you that you trust and love, you come up with a code word and you use that code word when you need to. And that means you just get out of there immediately. And you never, ever, ever, ever allow yourself to be alone with that family member.
What if you are?
So
What if you're
you
staying?
just keep moving. Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people go home for the holidays.
Well, right. So just keep, it's sort of like something you have to keep working at every year, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, everything that I've figured out about this has been from like not doing the right thing and then being like, that didn't work. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try that. We're all works in progress.
That
Right.
is so true. We are. And we have to give ourselves grace. I know when we've, done it right.
That's right. And it's like healing, right? It's like making the space to allow yourself to heal and to recognize that your feelings are important because you've been programmed you've been programmed to think that your feelings don't matter.
Yeah. I think the self-abandonment part is something that really, really struck a chord with me when you said it. And it's something I've really worked on recently because you don't even know you're self-abandoning. You just think, oh gosh, let me help you. You're so victim-y or whatever it is. There's always a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start implementing those boundaries and not
Mm-hmm.
trying to save or fix, it's so empowering.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's the theme, right? Like as the child, you keep thinking, if I just do this one thing, it'll be enough, right? So you could do all the things. Today's Friday. You could do all the things on Friday. Save the day, be the superhero. And Saturday morning, it's like Friday didn't happen. You go back to zero, right? And that's where the exhausting thing comes in. So just recognizing that you don't have to match their energy. If the energy is crisis, you don't swoop in. You just stand back and evaluate what works for you.
Mhm. What are some good key sentences people can say if that happens? Their parent is in crisis and they're standing right in front of you, and you feel this like, oh, shoot, I have to do something. What can we do?
That sounds really hard. I'm sorry you're struggling. Yeah, that's a lot. You just keep repeating what they're saying back to them because remember, they love to talk about themselves. So if you start to try to fix it, they're going to poke holes in it, right? So if I said, I'm so nervous because I have to host everybody and I have to cook, and then you say to me, well, Megan, why don't you just cater? Well, I can't cater because, and then I'm going to give you all the reasons why I can't. And then you're going to give me another solution. Well, why don't you have everybody bring everything? And I'm going to say, oh my God, I can't do that. Like nobody has time to do that. And it's not going to be done right. So solutions don't work.
Mhm.
So you just keep saying, oh, that sounds hard. Yeah, that's hard.
Mhm.
Sorry. I'm sorry. And if they're locking you in to hold court, because that's what happens, they hold court, you've got to start like doing an activity. Chop, like do something in the kitchen, be busy, be always moving, be a moving target because the minute you sit down, you're in. They're locked and loaded.
That's amazing advice. That's gold right there. Oh my
Uh,
gosh. What are some lasting thoughts that we should take into this holiday season?
just that like every interaction is an opportunity to practice something new. Like, just keep practicing. This is really hard. This is trauma. And it takes so much energy and courage to heal. So on December 25th, if you are having to spend all this time with said person, December 26th, you are doing nothing. You are staying in your pajamas because you are going to have an emotional hangover and you're going to need so much love and just support. So just keep it real simple.
That's beautiful self-care.
Yeah.
You are so fantastic. Tell people how they can find you.
They can find me on TikTok. So we are at Fritz Stanger and Associates. And like I said, we are multi-licensed and different or multi-state licensed. Yeah. So we do telehealth. I am available to do coaching. So I do a lot of coaching for family members of personality disordered people, or like in your case, recovery from a dating relationship. Mm-hmm. So they can find us on TikTok. They can find us on our website, which is fritzstanger.com. And they can find me on my email, which is on our TikTok. So there are lots of ways to find me. But really, I would just say the healing journey is so worth it. And we're starting a new year. And what an amazing gift to give yourself to figure all this out.
It is. It is the best gift you can possibly give yourself. It just opens you up to the rest of the world, who's lovely.
Yes.
There's so much.
Yes. Well, I so appreciate you having me here today. And I really, it's my favorite topic. So.
Well, you'll be back, girl. You'll be back.
Thank you
so much.
You're welcome.